Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to continue our how to market on WeChat guide for foreign business owners. And we in the previous two videos we talked about the basics of WeChat. We talked about the mindset of marketing on WeChat. And we also talked about official accounts and how you can acquire official accounts and the importance of having an official account to market on WeChat. In this video, we're going to cover how to do paid advertisement on WeChat. But before we get started, I just want to cover something. WeChat has a native pay advertisement platform that you can use. There are actually three different ways that you can advertise on WeChat, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But WeChat's advertisement is actually not as robust as, say, Facebook or Google or even some of the other paid advertisement platforms in the West. Part of the reason is WeChat or Tencent really had a hard time trying to monetize WeChat. So I don't think Tencent had any idea how to monetize WeChat. They tried many different things and was not very successful in terms of monetization. So for a long time, I believe that WeChat didn't really make any money for Tencent. So unlike Facebook, which, for the first 5 years, Facebook really didn't make any money at all either. However, I believe that it was intentionally done and they knew that at some point they can monetize their traffic and they can monetize the attention that was on Facebook. With WeChat, it was more of a problem of, well, how do we do it? How do we monetize? Because it's kind of hard, right? So part of the reason is, like I said in the first video, is that the way WeChat works is quite different. Ultimately, WeChat is still a instant messaging app. So if we look at all the instant messaging apps that are out there, at least all the popular ones, which being WhatsApp, and there's Line, and there's WeChat, all of them traditionally had a really hard time monetizing their traffic, right? So none of them really had any way of monetizing their users' attention, even though they had a lot. So the problem is, unlike Facebook and other platforms like Instagram, even with the newer Snapchat, people are there looking for content, right? The content that are created by their friends that are aggregated, or their news that are in the news feed. With instant messengers, people are there chatting, right? So you can't really advertising other people's chat. It's just nobody will use your chat if that happens, and you can't really charge people to use the app because they would just go back to SMS, because there's not that much of a leap forward difference in terms of technology to worth paying for it. Well, of course, these are just my opinions, but WeChat had some specialty apart from WhatsApp, where it's just purely an instant messenger. Luckily, WeChat has moments. So WeChat is a combination of instant messenger plus there's a social element to it. And this is kind of where Tencent was leaning towards and gearing towards of monetizing it. However, originally they were not very successful with it. So anyways, let's talk about the three different ways that you can actually advertise on WeChat. Two of them are native to WeChat. What I mean by that is that you actually pay Tencent and you use their platform. They get a cut, you pay them, and they pay the advertisers, kind of like AdWords and Google, Facebook. The other one is more of a side way of advertising on WeChat, but in our opinion, it's actually one of the better ways of doing it. The first way that you can advertise on WeChat is actually moment advertisement. This is actually relatively new. This was not the first thing that Tencent had in terms of advertising. So the way it works is kind of simple. So if you remember in the first video, we talked about moments, right? Moments are like news feeds on Facebook. There are articles or updates of your friends that people share, and you can look at them as a user on WeChat, and that's what people do a lot. So moments ads are kind of like an ad that it goes in between, other moments that are shared by your friends. And the way it works is, in order for you to have a moment ad, you need to be either a Chinese registered company or you have to be a wholly foreign owned enterprise. Okay, so the WFOE. Now, what that means is if you're a large enterprise and you go to the Chinese government and you say, well, you know what, we want to do business in China, we're going to register our company in China, then you are considered to be an entity of China business, but you are wholly foreign owned, right? So that's why it's called wholly foreign owned enterprises. Now, The third requirement for this is that you actually need about 500,000 RMB, which is equivalent of 20,000 USD every month to kind of be able to even get into Moments advertisement. So it's not very cheap for sure. So the way Moments ads works is they're actually just like Moments, except they're not. So you get everything that a standard Moments will get. You get your profile image on that little icon there. Then you get a name, and typically this will be a brand name, and typically it'll be a logo for the profile image. And then you get a little bit of description that will kind of tell the user what the ad is about. One thing that you do not get on a standard Moment is you don't get an ability to link out to a Tencent page, right? So the third little 3 here that you see is actually going to be a link that you can link out to a web page that's hosted by Tencent. Okay, so you still cannot link out to your own website, unfortunately. Again, this is the controlling nature of Tencent. But at the very least, you get to link it out to a web page and have a little bit more engagement with your user, or get them to take an action, have a call to action there. Last but not least, where you get your standard 6 pictures that any Moments get. I'm going to scroll back a little bit. I'm going to show you what some of the companies do. So here's a picture of BMW in China, and here's a picture of Coca-Cola. These are not by us. This is on WeChat's official account. And the way they use these 6 pictures is that they will take a large picture and they will cut them up evenly and then display that very large picture by puzzling back the 6 pictures. Alternatively, some other companies that we have seen is they have also used story-driven ads where each picture tells a little bit more about the story. Or you can do a product display ad where if you're selling a car, you can do one angle of each part of your car and you have 6 different pictures. So it's really up to you. There's no right way or wrong way to do that, and there's really a testing process to see which ad is better. However, it also depends on what kind of results you want to get and the purpose of your ad. So other than that, there's some really weird things about Moments ads that you should know about. So first of all, Moments ads do not show up on users that have less than 500 users, I believe. The user have to have a lot of friends in order for these ads to even show up. And second of all, even if you have a lot of friends, you must have 4 updates before the ads actually show up on the 5th slot. So what it means is, let's say 4 of your friends put up 4 Moment updates and you haven't checked it for a while. Now you have 4 little notification telling you, well, you have 4 updates that you got to check. In that case, an ad may or may not appear on the 4th or the 5th moment for you. The other little weird thing is once these ads is being displayed on the user and the user sees it, they won't see the ad again for another 48 hours. Finally, and the last little weird thing is if the user doesn't like, comment, or interact with the ad will be automatically removed from that user's moment and they won't see that ad anymore. The reason all these are in place, again, WeChat is trying to preserve their user experience. Now, of course, they want to monetize it, but they realize that if the user experience sucks, nobody's going to go back to use WeChat. You may say, well, WeChat has a monopoly in China, which is kind of true, and they dominate the social media aspects. What competition do they really have? Yes, that is true, and there's virtually no company that will come close in terms of social media with WeChat. But that doesn't mean they can do whatever they want, right? If they piss off the user and everyone stop using WeChat, they don't have any platform. So they still want to keep a good user experience for their users. They still want to grow and they want people to use WeChat. So the last thing I want to cover is the targeting. Unfortunately, targeting currently is very basic on Moments ads. So you can do it by age, by location, and by interest. And then you can do it by gender, devices, and phone networks. So it's not as robust as Facebook and maybe even ours, but it is not so bad. The cost is kind of expensive, and it is paid by impression. It's not paid by clicks, it's paid by impressions. And you do need a minimum of 50,000 RMB to start. Now, the ads generally cost the same per 1,000 impression. The only difference is how if you were to specify which location you want to advertise. So if you don't specify any location, it's about $40 RMB and for 1,000 impression. But if you want to target, say, like Shanghai and Beijing, which is the two major cities, it's about $140 RMB per 1,000 impression. Where if you want to target first and second tier, it's about $90 RMB for 1,000 impression. So to kind of translate that, $40 RMB is roughly about $9 US, around that. So that's actually quite expensive if you really think about it, because Facebook charges way less for 1,000 impression. Well, again, but of course, with Facebook, it depends on your market and who your targeting are as well. But $140, which is roughly about $30 US for 1,000 impression, it is quite expensive. But again, like I said, all the attentions are on WeChat, and moment is where they look. So maybe it is worth it for some companies. So how do you apply for a moment advertising? So a couple years ago, it will only be available for Chinese locals, and it only works in China, and it was not available for foreign company. I believe it was last year or recently, very recently, that has changed. So in order for you to apply as a foreign business, you have to go through a special Tencent process. The link is provided right there at weixin.qq.com. Or if you have trouble, you can always contact us. We'll be happy to help you out. And you can email us anytime you want. So the second type of WeChat advertising is the banner advertisement. So this one is actually the oldest type of WeChat advertisement. So the way these WeChat banner ads works is they appear on official accounts article on the bottom of these articles. And these banner can link out to a Tencent hosted webpage, just kind of like the Moments app. Now, traditionally, these ads were very terrible. They were actually very cheap as well. The reason they were so cheap is they offer no targeting, and they kind of show up on any kind of official account. You cannot choose which account you want to show up on. So it's not like Google Display where you can say, I want it on this side, this side, and this side to kind of increase my conversion. It was just like they would just show up on any kind of official accounts. And that caused the problem that advertisers were not getting any results and the performance were terrible, so they didn't want to advertise using banner ads anymore. So WeChat changed it. Now, in order for you to advertise as a banner, you must reach an agreement with an official account owner before you can actually advertise on these banner ads. So other than that, these accounts are also restricted to Chinese mainland companies only. And if your company requires a special license, and in China there's a lot of license, so if you're a food company, you need a food license, Tencent must see the license before you can even advertise on these banner ads. So the cost of these are actually incredibly expensive, and it's almost not worth it. So again, it's performance based, of course, just it's by impressions. It's by clicks, and it's by an agreement that you reach with the subscription official account. But the thing is, Tencent will usually require you to put down at least 20,000 to 75,000 USD just to start a campaign. So it is actually quite expensive. In our opinion, it's definitely not the best way that you want to advertise on WeChat. The third and finally the last way to advertise on WeChat is to pay for what Chinese people like to call Wanghong, or key influencers, right? So recently, even in the States, around the world, there are many celebrities on the internet. So key influencers, in my opinion, is just a celebrity that's on the internet. So they may not have the hundreds of millions or even tens of millions of influencers, but they might have 1 million or 2 million. That's more than what I have anyway. So there are little celebrities on these internet. In China, it is especially true, and it is kind of weird because in China, generally speaking, key influencers are usually girls. There are guys, of course. There are in certain markets, there are key influencers, there are experts and other stuff, of course. But oddly enough, it is just generally girls. And in China, there is a lot of key influencers, and it is incredibly popular right now. So the way it works is that you would do essentially what you do with a banner advertisement with Tencent, except you would directly approach them and you would talk to them and you would negotiate a deal. So you can do a couple of things. Is you can pay for banner ads on their subscription accounts, or you can pay for them to do a product review, or you can pay them to write you an article to endorse your product, or you can pay them to give away your product. So these are multiple choice. It really depends on what you want and who you want to approach and if they want to do it. There's no one way of doing this. And the cost. Well, again, the cost may vary. It depends on how well their audiences are and how much influences they have. And it depends on how much they want to charge you. It could be as little as $300 RMB, which is about $50, to reach maybe 1,000 people or 500 people. Or it can be as much as 50,000, right? So it could be quite expensive on one end, or it can be very cheap. However, what we find is that if you find the right influencer and you're willing to pay a decent amount of money, no, not the cheapest, but decent amount of money, it generally works better than the WeChat banner advertisement. The only thing that may even be better is moments, but again, that it really depends on your ad. So here are some resources that you can use to find influencers in China. There's the newrank.cn, there's the parklu.com, and wemedia.cn. These are platforms that you can use to look for influencers and kind of communicate with them. Of course, they charge a service fee. Alternatively, like I said, you can contact us. We can work something with influencers. We see if we can help you find somebody that are in your niche that can promote your product for you. So, of course, almost always every business wants to know which type of advertisement channel is right for you. And this one is a little bit hard to say. So there is, for sure, that we don't recommend banner advertisement because it's expensive and the performance are, and you can really accomplish the same thing with key influencers as if you pay for the banner. So why would you pay for the banner? It doesn't make any sense. Moments, on the other hand, is kind of worth it in our opinion. However, that requires a large amount of budget. So if you don't have a large amount of budget, the reality is you're only left with key influencers advertising. So anyways, that ends our last video on how to market on WeChat for foreign business owners. So if you have any question, you can always leave us a comment, or you can shoot us an email, or if you want to share something about your experience or your success with WeChat, feel free to let us know. Feel free to write to us. We'll be glad to hear you, and we always reply our emails. Other than that, we wish you all the best and the best of luck with WeChat. And that's it. Have a good one.